Alright guys, welcome to the Paintball Madhouse. I'm Madness, and I've been working on this T15 for a few episodes now. And in this episode, we're going to work on the upper receiver. Now we're going to switch out the forward assist button, and switch out the dust plate. And I'm going to show you how I did a spring-loaded custom charging handle. Alright, talk about a couple other things on this thing. So, let's get started. Alright guys, so first I'm going to remove the bolt. There it is. This is the full auto bolt. Set that to the side. The cap and spring. Gonna have to remove the barrel sleeve. I'm sorry, barrel sleeve. The bolt sleeve. And the sleeve that just pulls out, okay, and the charging handle that comes out. We'll get to that in a bit. Alright, now going to switch out the forward assist button. Okay, now this is a dummy button. It's just a button with a spring on it. Alright, show you what that looks like. I already previously loosened the spring. There is a pin here. I'm sorry, I loosened the pin. Just gonna pop that through. And this is the button. There's the spring. Okay, very simple. We're gonna switch this one out with an actual forward assist button. This is a little different. This is also from Strike Industries. As I mentioned before, they got some pretty cool stuff out there. And we're gonna swap it out for this one. It's got a little different look to it. These also come in different colors, guys: blue, red, and black. I'm not sure if there's another color out there. It might be tan or green, I'm not sure. But definitely black, blue, and red. Alright, so now if you notice, the actual forward assist button comes with the spring that slips over it. It's got this little extra attachment here in the arm. It's a latch. Okay, so you'll notice that there's a difference in size. Now you don't need to cut this. You may want to. I'll get to that in a second, but it may not be necessary. Okay, first off, this little latch, there's a pin holding that. You're gonna have to remove that pin. Remove the latch, so you push that through. Okay, set aside that little pin. You're gonna need it. See how small it is. Okay, and then the latch, there's another. Set that aside. There's another little pin and spring in there. You can set that aside. Now, this is what you're left with. Okay, it's still a little longer than the one, the one from the T15. So if you don't want to cut it, you can just leave it. It's just going to stick out a little farther than this one would. Okay, so if you're okay with that, that's fine. If not, you can cut it. Now, I would cut it. You're going to need that hole. You need to put the pin back in that hole to make this work. So if you're going to cut it, you're going to cut above that hole. Leave a little meat there. Basically right where it hooks out right here. You can just cut that. I don't know if you can see that. But you can basically cut that right off if you want to kind of give it the same size. Up to you. Now, what holds this in place, guys, is when this pin comes down right in between here on its side. That prevents it from coming out. It also allows you to just push it in like a little button. Again, it's a phony button, so it's not really necessary. But what you're gonna do is you can slip the spring over, and then you can stick the small pin that came out of here, stick it back in there. But you're not going to push it in all the way. You're going to let it stick out a little. Grab a little needle nose if you need to, just to push that back in a bit. Not too far. You want to stick that out because you need the bolt to catch on to something. So because, again, as you can see, it's a lot thinner than the actual one from the T15. Okay, so if you let that little arm stick out, like that. You want to just put it in the first slot there. All right, and when you push this in, you have to push it in a little more. Try to get it to fit because you want the pin to catch it so that it doesn't fall out on you. Okay, there it is, I think. Alright, so you actually may still need to cut it, but you want to grab it. And try to get that in there, okay? That should prevent the button from sticking out, okay? Not going to really be able to press it much, but again, it's a dummy button, you don't need it. You know, it's not something that you need to be pressing in and out, alright? But yeah, you can cut it as well, guys. It might actually be better to cut it and to leave it that way, only because you want to be able to make sure that the pin grabs on this side of it. You don't want the pin on the other side because you're really just grabbing the spring. But it should hold right there either way, as you just saw. It won't come out. And again, it's a dummy button, so it shouldn't be a problem. And if you're ever going to configure this with different color parts, guys, this would be one of the parts you can swap out to kind of match where it is. Alright, so you may have to wiggle it just to get the pin in the proper position. Get it on the other side of it. Okay. And then wiggle it so that your pin kind of drops in. There. Alright, and you should be good. It won't come out. Alright, again, if you want to cut it down just to get it in a little bit, you could. Just make sure you don't cut it past that hole because you're going to need it in order to lock this in, okay? So I'm going to leave that there for now. Now, another thing I want to talk to you guys is this ball you have right in here, okay? This bearing here, guys, there's a cap there. Remove that cap, there's actually a spring. And then you have the bearing here. Now, this is important, guys, because you want to keep that clean. You want to keep that rolling freely. It makes your life a lot easier when you're putting in the barrel. Okay, and this starts to get filled up with you know, oil, grease, and gunk and whatever. It won't spin, and then it might give you a hard time turning your barrel and even locking in on you. Okay, so periodically stick your finger in there. Make sure you can roll it freely. If you can't, very simple. You just remove this cap. There's a screw in there. There's the ball in there. It's not under pressure. It's just keeping it pinned down. I'll show you real quick. Okay. And then when you remove it and you go to put it back in, don't kill it, guys. Make sure that as you're putting it back in there, there's the spring and there's the bearing. Okay. So you don't want to. When you put the cap back in there, you don't want to kill it because then it'll tighten down on the ball. Okay, you want just enough pressure on it so that it obviously doesn't come out, but that it also springs freely. Now, mentioned on the other episode, I had the upper and lower Cerakoted. So you see I had the text, the come and take it, which is the translation for the Latin Molon Lobe, which is from the movie 300. Which is what the gun is modeled after. All right, so this is all Cerakoted. I mentioned before, you can have this done in a variety of colors, whatever you want, even camo, bunch of different designs. I mean, whatever you can think of, it could probably be done. All right, so now that we have this open, let's going to move on to the dust cover. Now the dust cover, guys, this pin locks it in. It's just a pin. It's nothing. Just stick it in. Just has has one side that prevents it from going through, but what really holds it in from coming out is the shroud. All right, so you're gonna need to remove that. Then you can freely pull this pin out. Okay, just be careful with that spring. Okay, hold on to that spring. Now, Here's your dust cover. Okay, removed. Real quick, guys. If you're going to use a hopper, all right, here's the latch with the hopper. It actually latches, like, you see the little pin there. All right, you would just put the long pin back in there. All right, to hold it in, and then it locks in place. All right. Now, a lot of guys, you know, they might see you with a T15 with a hopper on, and they're gonna look at you like you got two heads. I really don't care. If you want to, it's your gun. Do whatever you want. If you want to use a hopper on it, do whatever you want. I actually used it once because when I first got it, I actually used it because I had so much paint left over. You know, when you're rolling with mags, you don't kill as much paint. Nowhere near a whole case. You're going to be a lot more selective with your shots, all right? But it was getting toward the end of the day, and I needed paint to kill, so I popped in the hopper. Not a big deal. So up to you if you want to use it or not. Okay, so we'll set that aside. Now, I originally wanted a custom AR one. This is the first one that I went with. Now, this is an actual AR dust cover. So you can see it doesn't have that wing tip that you would need for the T15 because of the hole for the hopper. All right, if you notice, an AR1 also has the latch on the back that locks in. In order for you to use one of these on the T15, you're going to have to cut this latch off first off. Cut it straight down. Now, how I got this one to fit is basically simple. I ordered an extra one, and I cut it. At first, I attached it, used an epoxy to attach it to this one. It's actually the same one. And wound up coming off on me. Didn't hold very well. Luckily, I might have been in the car that this fell off, so I was able to get this piece back. And then I tried it again, and I actually used the steel stick that I've been using on some of the stuff here. And this one held pretty good. Now, if you can see, I put a piece of black tape, and if you notice, I put a piece of black tape just in case that it breaks off again. Hopefully, the tape will keep it on there until I can notice it, so that I just don't fall off in the field and lose it. So I did that. And that's basically, you know, very simple. Again, there's different styles of dust covers. You can get them laser engraved or whatever you want. This is going to be the new one that I add. I got a little video show you just what I did to secure this. I basically laid it down. I'll show you in the video. I marked out where the upper tab is going to go. This time though, guys, I used it's from Loctite as well. It's a super glue, a gel, and I dabbed a little there just to hold this in place. Now this stuff is pretty good, and it sets very fast. This sets within a few minutes. So don't be careful, don't kill it because you don't want it spreading out. And just pretty much a little bit just to hold. And again, it sets within a few minutes, so bear that in mind when you're doing this. And then after it dried pretty good, I added a little steel stick as well, just to help reinforce it. And I'm also going to put a little piece of black tape here, again, just in case it impacts or something like that. And this tab breaks off. You know, hopefully it won't go too far on me. Because again, remember guys, you know, it's a separate piece attached, so it's a good possibility that this can come off. All right, now in this one I kind of did different. This was kind of flat because I kind of, if you notice here, I cut a little longer and I attached it around the back, in the back side here. So it's kind of flattish as opposed to the actual T15 one. This one, it kind of juts out a little bit for the outline. So this one pretty much just sat. I mean, you know, does the trick. This one sits flat on it. Should be there, no problem. You know, it's not an issue. And this one probably gonna sit in a little better. So that's it. I mean, again, you can do these and to have these. I'll post a link up. You can have whatever text you want on it. You're just going to need to be able to get yourself an extra one or use the one you have. However, I would order an extra one. And you can get them from Rockstar Tactical, and always keep the original with you. And that's that. So this was pretty simple. I'm going to show you. I know a lot of guys have, you put the pin back in, and I know a lot of guys have issues putting this spring back on. I'm just going to show you what I do, if that's any helpful. So you see you have this longer piece and you have the shorter piece. What I do is I start out with the 2 tabs facing the bottom. And I'm going to fit that in there. Just going to drive the pin in, and I'm going to put the pin in maybe 1/4 of the way through the spring. Okay, then this staying down to the bottom, if you can see that, I'm going to hold this, I'm going to take the upper part and I'm going to rotate it. With my fingers, I'm going to keep some pressure and try to push this in at the same time, and then line up the back. Okay, now be careful because this little piece here will scratch the dust covers. You can see right there, we'll scratch it. Alright, so just bear that in mind when you're doing it. Be a little easy. Okay, very simple. As Bob would say, easy peasy.